の中にある赤と青き線それらが結ばれるのは真の像風の中でも
Chapter 421 is finally out, and with it comes my hero's endgame moment, the return of, well, basically everyone, and the reveal of Midoriya's fate, as well as his return to his origins. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Chapter 421, titled, We Are Here. This chapter opens up picking up exactly where the last chapter left off, with heroes from all over coming through portals in the nick of time to help the slowly rewinding Midoriya fight against the revived king of villainy, All For One. We see now that amongst the group of heroes are tons of familiar faces, from Shigetsu High students, pro heroes like Dead Arms and Gang Orca, Class 1B students, as well as the majority of Class 1A. Everyone is here. And speaking of everyone being here, that's what they all exclaim, as we get this double-spread panel of the massive group exclaiming an iteration of All Might's iconic line, We are here. All For One, in a bit of a world of his own, explains that he actually doesn't fully know how he came back from the dead, going on to say that since he was a part of the being known as Shigaraki, he thought he would have died too when Midoriya broke through him. But when he heard the sound of Yoichi's vestige shattering, his world shattered too. To him, the world lost all of its color and meaning, and the pain of loss he felt surpassed the pain caused by any attack Midoriya could land on him. All For One then comes to the conclusion that it was this pain of loss that gave him the strength to survive Shigaraki's end and take full control of his body once more, ultimately determining that tragedies are the true source of what makes people stronger. With this declaration, All For One, in typical fashion for this series, begins to morph and change his body into a multi-limbed skeletal monstrosity, using numerous quirks. And I mean, Horikoshi should really make a body horror manga. The man is thriving with these creations. However, in hearing this explanation of where true power comes from, it is none other than Sero who speaks up and says that he is wrong. Sero states that he has had a pretty average life that hasn't nearly been filled with as many ups or downs as other people. Yet, he himself has gotten far stronger than even he thought he could through just regular daily training. And not only that, but he has also seen how tragedies can negatively impact a person's life and make them far more difficult. As if on cue, we see both Shoto and Endeavor coming through war portals behind All For One. Sero then rushes towards All For One as both Endeavor and Shoto ignite their hands in flames, as Sero exclaims that in the world they want to make, tragedies like these shouldn't exist. And with this statement, both Endeavor and Shoto then unleash their flames simultaneously, landing a direct double flash fire fist on the villain. We then briefly cut to a flashback where we see Rei being carried off by UA robots as Natsu explains to Endeavor that she has reached her heat limit, and it would be best for him to go somewhere else as he will only raise her temperature. It's also very vital to note that while both Endeavor and Shoto are awake and using their quirks on All For One, they immediately have to be pulled away from the villain by Sero, as both are still heavily injured and unable to move on their own. So yeah, they're both still pretty messed up. Following this father-son flash-fire fist, hey, I just realized we finally got one of them together. President Mike rushes out from a portal and shouts out to the heroes to advance, as this is today's final mission. The heroes then all charge All For One as the seemingly unfazed villain proclaims that despite all of the wounded heroes charging at him, he doesn't feel a single hint of emotion towards any of them or even in himself, which he admits actually makes him sad, revealing that All For One has lost all of the joy in playing the part of the big bad villain. But regardless, the fight continues as All For One prepares to attack the incoming horde, but is caught off guard by the hero 13, who rides into battle atop the hero Hound Dog and uses her quirk to pull and restrain All For One, granting the other heroes an opportunity to attack. However, despite this effort, All For One proves too fast and powerful, overpowering 13's quirk and unleashing a widespread attack on the heroes that even overpowers Burnin and the other support heroes' attempts at redirecting it. Midoriya, in seeing his allies' efforts, once again tries to join the fight, but his wounds take the best of him and he falls to the ground once more. Aizawa then reminds Midoriya that Eri's Horn only had enough energy to rewind his body a few minutes to just before he lost his arms. Meaning, whatever damage he took or whatever happened to him up to that point is still affecting his body. This leads to Midoriya revealing that he no longer has any of the quirks the previous users granted him, but more importantly, he also no longer has One For All itself. That's right, Midoriya has lost One For All in its entirety. Well, almost its entirety, as Midoriya explains that just like how All Might could fight with the quirk's remaining embers in Kamino, he too has some embers of the quirk inside of him, meaning that any use of the quirk from this point forward could be his last. With this reveal, Aizawa hands over the All Might shirt that one civilian gave him for the heroes, and the shirtless Midoriya happily puts it on, of course noting the shirt's exact details and variations in the process. Once a fanboy, always a fanboy. Aoyama then approaches the duo and offers his hand to Midoriya, telling him that they have to run in together, stating, "We need you and you need us." And with this, we see numerous familiar faces such as Gran Torino, Kota, Eri, the guy who gave his shirt, the Don't See Kid, and countless others cheering on Midoriya and the other heroes as we see Izuku Midoriya once again running into the battlefield, technically quirkless, wearing the shirt of his #1 hero like the fanboy he always was.
And I was running far away. Would I run off the wall someday? Nobody knows, nobody knows. I was dancing in the rain. I felt the love and I can't complain. But no, take me home.